Hey, welcome to Socialism for All. Today's date is September 4, 2021. And yesterday I posted a video titled, U.S. Socialists Must Center Workers with Revolutionary Potential, Not Isolated Reactionary Xenophobes. This was a response video to a clip of Chris Hedges talking in which he said the following.
Forget Washington. It's our job to build movements, as Rick said, and we're going to have to build movements with people whose political expressions are far worse than anything that Williamson or anyone else is going to. So we're going to have to build coalitions with people like my family, and I love my family, although I don't want to hear much of what they think about black people or homosexuals or there's an endless list, unless you're white Protestant from Mechanic Falls, Maine. But you know what? We're going to have to build those coalitions around fundamental issues of justice, around fundamental issues of employment, around fundamental issues of public service, of public schools, etc. And we're going to have to come together on those issues. But of course, the left which I think is just rapidly becoming a caricature of itself, is extinguishing its political relevance.
So those were the comments, and note that he was talking specifically about reactionary xenophobes, not people living in rural places who were more progressive or socialist in character, looking for an end to capitalism, etc. He was talking about the shitheads. He was talking about people who actively reject everything that not only we as Marxists are about, but much of what, the weaker social democratic left, to the extent that they're left, wants also. So he was very explicit about that. And this, what I spoke about in that video for about 10 minutes was how here you have an avowed liberal, not part of the left, criticizing the left and telling the left what the left needs to do, blah, blah, blah. Has he even tried to do some of the things that he's talking about? Because he's talking about his own family. He can't even influence his own family, but we're supposed to. No. So what I'm saying is that if you try to build a movement with those people and you can't change their minds, but just try to bring them into your movement, that's how you get fascism. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who are maybe 25 and young and white, and they want instant results. And guess what? You're going to build a fascist movement because you're reaching out to other white people, most of whom are very right-wing. You're going to wind up building a fascist movement. These are not the people we need to be centering. These are not the go-to people. So let's read some comments. One commenter said, I wholeheartedly agree with your criticism, but I think it's important to remember that it's not just bigoted folks in rural areas. Yeah, but that's who Chris Hedges was talking about. So it's kind of irrelevant. There's many groups of oppressed people with revolutionary potential in the rural areas. It's important to have support for a revolution in the country. Anyway, none of this has anything to do with what I was talking about. Nothing at all. You wanted to comment on a different video, I think. So we need to address the point, which honestly, it's an important thing to deal with in the Marxist movement, as small as it is, in the USA, is already overrun with right-wingers. I know because I kicked them off of my channel. I have zero tolerance for that shit. People who want to talk tough and get instant results and play to the third positionists and fourth positionists can fuck off. You are not the left. I'm sorry. This is socialism with roid rage characteristics. It's not interesting or useful to most people. It might help you get a following on Twitch or some shit like that, but it's not actually useful. You're building a fascist movement. That's what you're doing. You're getting played by fascists. You are getting played. So we then have another comment. And those oppressed people often happen to be socially backwards, speaking of the ones in the rural areas, and reactionary, anti-LGBT, etc. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. The comment goes on. How likely do you think that those people are to join a socialist movement? I'll wait. Yeah, my guess would be not at all. So you cannot exclude people who don't want to join in the first place. They are self-excluding. Do you understand that? Okay. Continuing with the comment, you cannot have a mass class-based movement without these people. So the question here, I'll address that point, but the question here was, who do we center? Who do we start with? Where is the most revolutionary potential? Is it people from Mechanic Falls, Maine, and similar places who only want to associate with people exactly like them, and they hate blacks and they hate gays and all this other stuff? No. Those people want Reagans and Trumps. They do not want socialist politics. Can you get that through your head? People often say that the US is more likely to go into fascism than it is to have a socialist revolution. In other words, if there are uprisings, they're probably going to be more right-wing in nature. I would like to not see that happen. Although I agree with the assessment that there's a high risk for that. Why? Because, well, as the comment goes on, they make up over 75% of the population in the USA. Congrats, you just described that the USA is fucking racist and reactionary and defends capitalism. We as Marxists are trying first to connect with the people who don't think that way to build our movement, okay? Then once we get some strength and can actually flex some muscle, then you win some of those people over. But you win them over. You don't just bring them in the way that they are. You agitate, educate, and then organize. The organization is the last part. So for all these people who want instant results because, hey, I'm becoming an adult and my life's starting, and if we don't have a revolution soon, I'm not going to be able to have the life I want. Yeah, you're not. Guess what? I'm in my 40s. Get fucking used to it. I'm sorry that you don't think you're going to have the life you want because the USA is imploding. I didn't get to have the life that I wanted, but I'm doing this YouTube channel trying to talk to people like you so that we don't keep making the same goddamn mistake over and over again of thinking that some kind of red-brown alliance with libertarians or whoever is going to be fruitful. It's fucking not. We have to do something actually new and different. So the comment goes on, to omit these people, i.e. reactionaries who hate socialism and don't want anything to do with Marxism, to omit them from our Marxist movement. People who don't want to join it, we're excluding them. No, they're excluding themselves. Is to put identity politics ahead of class politics. Oh my God, I just want to tear my hair out when I read shit like this. You're dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. And you're just typing away like you do. And it's so infuriating. To omit these people, committed anti-socialists, is to put identity politics ahead of class politics. And then just the cherry on top, which is anti-communist radlib nonsense. Sounds about white. And yes, of course that commenter had a picture of a white guy for his avatar. Of course. Because this is you, right? This is you're describing? This is basically you? Or this was you 1 year ago? Sit down. Sit down and shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. They then go on talking about revolution isn't built off of identity politics. If class reductionism, if it was honestly that simple, this would have happened a long, long time ago. Part of the way that capitalism is so entrenched in the United States is the skillful promotion of racial division and gender hierarchies and all kinds of things, some of which, like the gender division of labor, is somewhat traditional. But this is all coming out of class struggle societies also. So all of this is part of the same system moving through millennia. If it was this simple, it would have been done already. And white guys like you harping on this class reductionist line that everybody just needs to shut up about other identities other than class are not helping. You are wrong. And if you actually are in a setting that is majority people of color, you will get laughed out of the room. I just saw this happen to Noah Kravchik. Rightly so. The guy is a pest for exactly this reason. Social chauvinism and trying to center the wounded ego of the aging white working class is a dead end. That's not where the revolutionary potential is in this country. And if you keep putting your ear to that door, you're wasting your time. And it wouldn't even be so bad if you were just wasting your own time. But you got to come over here to this community and then waste our time too. No. You can go back to your quasi-fash, pretending to be Marxist community, and you can do that. The actual situation that we have in the United States, in a country deeply racist, you have to do the anti-racist work before people can come together in a class against class unity kind of way. Because the non-white communities in this country have been fucked over so many times. Why would they ever trust you? Because there has been a way of thinking promoted by capitalists for a very long time that the white male breadwinner in particular is the archetype that gets the privilege, that gets the bigger crumb, etc. And so you get a labor hierarchy which has race and gender components to it. And these keep the working class separated. And what we have actually found throughout history in people's movements is that many times white people getting involved in working class movements want to keep perpetuating that privilege, not realizing it's not inherent to them. They're not inherently better. They're just used to getting treated that way. And that came from the capitalists. It's a trick that the capitalists played on the white workers. But the white workers got used to feeling like everything revolved around them. Us. I'm white. I'm trying hard not to be white, as it were. Not to fall into these pitfalls that have totally plagued and disrupted the left. Mainly because white people can't shut the fuck up and get out of the way. And that's exactly what this commenter is doing. And it's everybody else. I'm not trying to blame all of this on a commenter. It's been going on for decades, and you still hear supposedly Marxist podcasters and whatever else playing to that white ego, which was inflated by capitalists, and a lot of people don't want to let it go. Well, we have to let it go, and white people should not be at the center of U.S. socialism, should not be leading U.S. socialism. If we are lifting from the ground up, from the bottom of the labor hierarchy up, so that we don't leave anyone behind in this revolution, then no, the most reactionary workers need to be the last who are brought into the fold only after everyone else is organized enough and strong enough not to get fucked over by working class people trying to recreate the labor hierarchy of the capitalists within our socialist movement. If you are white, it may be a struggle to understand this. I'm white. It's taken me a very long time to understand this at all. I will never understand it as completely as somebody who has experienced it firsthand their whole life. But I'm also willing to get out of the way and let those people talk. And what I'm not hearing from them is the same kind of class reductionism that is being pushed on these mostly white Marxist channels. Because, yeah, ultimately, of course, it's proletariat against capitalists, sure. You all know that basic logic. But uniting the proletariat, like I said, if it was that easy, it would have been done already. You have to look at what that's about. And no, the missing ingredient is not white racists who learned their racist views from their capitalist masters, who rewarded them for demonstrating those racist views and for enacting those racist views in their daily lives. They're rewarded for that. If you stand up to racism, you get punished in various ways. So you can stand there all day long and say, no, it's just class, it's nothing else. Except you're wrong. And your refusal to look at other dimensions of this is reflective of that conservative capitalist bias that was inculcated into you in your life. And it is holding the movement back insofar as you're still making noise that you're injecting into the conversation. So again, I'll come back around to, you want to say that 75% of the country is that way. First of all, you're wrong. I mean, that's a vast overestimate. But maybe your world is because you don't really live in the real America. So realize that. Maybe you live in really white America. Okay, great. You've had a sheltered life. Fabulous, but own it. Don't just keep dragging all of those like blind spots and lack of awareness into the movement and then grandstanding when people try to talk about how we actually bring workers together in a way that makes sense based off of history, based off of actual oppressions that go on in the history of the United States. I mean, that's where I'm trying to do this thing. And, saying that if we can't reach out to the MAGA people and all of the, outspoken enemies of anything remotely Marxist, which to them includes like, public streets in some cases, you're just, I'm sorry, but by prioritizing the enemies of the movement over the most likely allies of the movement who we just haven't been able to reach yet, you're really helping the enemies of the movement a lot more than the movement itself. I hope that that's clear. I'm quite sure this isn't the last time we'll talk about this. But yeah, proletarian patriotism, social chauvinism, this all needs to go out the window. I'm sure there will always be some people practicing it. You should not follow them. You should not listen to them, except to know what not to do. And I'm not the best person to speak on this subject, but here in my community, I will speak out on it when it comes up because it's important. Socialism for All isn't the kind of channel where we cozy up with third positionists and fourth positionists. That's really not what we're trying to do here. We are not class reductionists. We recognize the role of racism and sexism and other forms of systemic bigotry that have kept the working class divided and have come into direct conflict with the overall goals of the socialist and communist movements in this country. I feel like I'm a broken record here, but it keeps coming at me anyway in the comments and other places. So hopefully at some point we learn this lesson, and I will keep doing audiobooks in the meantime on this subject. Thanks for listening. Thanks to the current patrons whose names are on the screen. If you want to support the channel, you know where. And otherwise, liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting always helps. We have interesting discussions, as in today's comments, which I was responding to in this video. And thanks for whatever it is that you're doing in your online and real-life communities to spread the conversation about socialism. We'll see you in the next video.